Here's something I've learned after 19 years of filming weddings. When the right music hits, everything changes. The pacing changes, the emotion lands, the story sharpens, and suddenly what you filmed doesn't just look good, it feels right. That's why I've used MusicBed exclusively for over 10 years. MusicBed is curated. I'm not digging through thousands of random uploads hoping to get lucky. The artists on MusicBed are real artists, touring, writing albums, and creating meaningful work. And when I license a song, I know I'm supporting someone who cares deeply about what they're making. That alignment matters to me, and practically, MusicBed saves me so much time. The search tools are powerful, the playlists are intentional. I can find the right song quickly, and that changes the entire edit. If you're serious about your craft, this is one of those upgrades that actually shows up in your work. MusicBed set up a 14-day free trial specifically for Shifting Focus listeners, and it's linked in the show notes below. Switch to MusicBed and start your free 14-day trial today. That's MusicBed, the music I trust. Welcome to this week's episode of the Shifting Focus podcast. My name is John Bunn. I'm a wedding filmmaker and photographer that's been doing this for almost 20 years. My goal is to help you get unstuck from the middle market by improving your work, your brand, and your network. And today I brought on Kevin Cochran from 718 Creative, based in Waco, Texas, but honestly, he's in most of the major markets in Texas, charging upwards of $20,000 for Texas weddings and over $30,000 for destination weddings, and he's only 7 years into his business. We dig deep on how he is charging what he's charging, his mindset, on what's really gotten him unstuck from the middle market. It was a great conversation. We've been friends for a little while now, and I asked him to jump on because his story is so inspiring. And I know that whether you're a filmmaker, photographer, planner, anywhere in between in the wedding industry, that this is going to help you a ton. Before we get into today's episode, I do want to mention my friends over at MusicBed. MusicBed is the place where I license my music for my wedding films. It's the best place to grab music. The artists that they support, a lot of indie artists, a lot of musicians and composers that are creating music, real music for us to use for our wedding films. It's by far the best. They have tools to help you match song styles or beats per minute or genre or mood, all kinds of different tools to find the perfect music for your wedding film. So head over to the show notes and check out all the free trials that they have for you over there. That's all that I have. Let's hop into this week's episode with Kevin from 718 Creative. Welcome, Kevin Cochran from 718 Creative. 718. We'll get there in a minute to the podcast. Say hello. Tell us who you are. Introduce yourself.
Hello. Thanks for having me, John. My name is Kevin. I'm with 718 Creative. You can call it 718. I say 718. And I'm based in Texas. I'm a wedding videographer, mostly shooting and working and loving being here in Texas with a little bit of destination work on the side.
And also the host of a new podcast,
which is not creatively named, but it is called The Texas Wedding Podcast. And it's a new venture and it's learning a lot. And anyone who's listened to it can attest that I'm learning as I go.
It's perfect.
Making mistakes, learning fast.
You're doing it well. It's awesome. It's a great idea. We talked about it off air a month ago. And I was like talking to you about like kind of what your business looks like and what you were charging. And I was like, wait a sec, we got to get this guy on the podcast to talk, because you've built yourself quite a brand. You're doing very well. Why don't you paint a picture real quick of just like your business, like how many weddings you kind of were taking last year, this year, and kind of maybe just paint us a picture of your business, maybe what your ranges are, that sort of thing on price, but even the kinds of weddings you're trying to serve, that sort of thing.
Thanks, Sean. I've been in business for 7 years now, and it's been a wild ride. I started out just doing it part-time, not thinking this was didn't have a big end goal or here's the master plan and the business plan, how we're going to get there. just some opportunities came up to film some weddings, and I was just having fun and along for the ride and learning as I went. So last year we did 18 weddings. I said it before, I shoot mostly here in Texas. And my goal for the business is that any wedding happening in the state of Texas that has a budget that can accommodate me, that I'd be one of the suggested options for video. So I want to be in the top 2 options for every wedding that happens in Texas that has a budget that can accommodate it. Last year I averaged 16 and a half for weddings here in Texas, and I do a couple destination weddings each year, 2 to 3, and get to charge a premium for those with not doing as many. And I'm usually in between like 29 to 32 for those destination weddings. And that's it. It's 718 creative, and everyone gets hung up on that. Like, is it 718? Is it 718? And I don't care. But I initially started the business, my wife and I did it together, and we named the business 718 Creative because it was the first place we ever lived together. The street address was 718. So I don't know, maybe it's just me. I'd always, if someone lived at 718 New York Street, I'd say 718. Maybe other people would say 718, but
I'm not here to get into a fight about that. I know that would be edgy, but I think we just need to stop it right there before we get hate mail. I just can't handle any more incident in the mailbag. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so price wise, you're up there, premium, and a lot of the market. What types of? I mean, is it only if they can accommodate you on the price, or what are you kind of looking for with the kinds of weddings you're really trying to be working on, or is it mainly? There's no wrong answer here. Is it mainly, I know if they can accommodate the price, then they will be a wedding I want to do if they're interested in me and they can accommodate. Is that kind of where you're at? Because I kind of land a little in that bucket as well. So how's that look for you?
I mean, that totally makes sense. A lot of the clients I'm working with right now, I don't get an opportunity to meet them before or vet them in any kind of a way because it's always through a planner. And so I'll often not even know the client's name until it's time to put it on a contract and send the contract to them. And so even if I had specifics of like, oh, my ideal client needs to tick these 4 boxes, I wouldn't really have an opportunity even to know if they tick those. Mm-hmm. I think the way we edit our films and the way I've run the business, it's intentionally more laid back, more fun focused. I am here in Texas. I was born and raised in Los Angeles, and I think I let a little bit of that laid back California experience kind of shine through. I don't know. I think a lot of our films don't take themselves too seriously, and it's more fun and it's upbeat. And it felt like when I was first getting started in wedding films, there just seemed to be a disconnect. I use the phrase a lot, we're experience focused, like it's experience focused wedding films. And to me, that's yes, the experience of the clients and the teams I'm working with and their guests on the day of the wedding. But a lot of it's also trying to edit the films with the number one goal of I want the experience that my clients just had on their wedding day to be reflected in these videos. And at least at the time I was getting started, I mean, there's so much variation, so many styles of wedding videos now. A lot of wedding videos tend to lean more serious, more traditional, a little more dramatic or cinematic. Like I feel like those are all words that encompass a lot of the wedding videos out there. And then it just seemed like a disconnect. As I was attending weddings, I wouldn't describe any of them that way. Like they were fun or they were silly or joyful or crazy or you know what I mean? And I just wanted to make films that felt more like what I was feeling attending. And that's held true for me all the way through. I said I started 7 years ago. I think that's one of the things that has helped to open a lot of doors in different networks. I say I'm based in Texas. I'm actually based in Waco, Texas, right in the middle. And it gives me a chance to connect with people and work in some of the surrounding cities really easily. So Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, Houston. A couple really big markets aren't a long drive for me. And it's been a cool opportunity to get to know people in each of those markets really well, being based here in Waco. So I think
Yeah.
you go.
No, well, I was going to say, you've said Texas so many times because you're from Texas now, and that's what Texas people
Yeah.
do. Being from Oklahoma, oh, geez, I don't even want to go there. I'm not trying to upset again, but boy, Texas people love Texas. Everybody that's watching is like, Texas forever, woo! And then they're like getting in their truck or whatever. No, I'm kidding. Okay, so I think this is an interesting thing to dissect because some people might be listening and being like, what the heck? Why would you not know the couple at all before the wedding or whatever? Like that would be mind blowing to not know their names till you're getting the contract. But I am in that boat a lot as well. I would say about 50% of my bookings are now coming from planners, and 50 are coming from actually YouTube and Instagram because just videos have, like if they
Taken
find me on
off. Yeah.
Instagram and YouTube, it's different because and I show myself a lot, and but more so than not now, my ideal, and I hate even just throwing the word like ideal avatars or ideal couples, or it's more so ideal vendors for me.
Yeah.
That I am really trying to get to know and connect with. And so you mentioned most of them come from planners. I would ask you, I guess, a follow up to what you're looking for in a couple, more so now 7 years into your business and in a luxury or premium or whatever you want to call it, the market you're in. What are you doing, or like who are you trying to aim at when it comes to the vendor side of things, the planners, or yeah, let's start there. Then I can dive deeper.
Yeah. For me, the biggest thing isn't like, it's not like there's a target list. I don't have an Excel sheet of everyone's name and, like tracking everything on the side of it. For me, the biggest thing's always been the heartbeat of the business has been connection. And so any planner in Texas, I believe, has clients with a personality and a style that would line up for me. Some planners, it's every single client they have would love my style. Some planners in Texas, I think 1 out of 30 would be drawn to my style versus other videographers. But for me, the ideal people I'm working with are people that there's a high level of trust there, that there's connection, that I feel like I know them and they know me, so that when vendors really trust each other and know each other well on the wedding day, I mean, it can be magical. Honestly, anyone who's been in the industry a while, like we've worked with clients who were a little bit harder to work with. And in those moments, if you are in that spot and you have a vendor team that you love and trust and you have each other's back, you're helping them, we're all picking each other up, we're growing together as a team, that'll change everything.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so let's look at this timeline here. You started 7 years ago. So like 2019, right before pandemic, you get going and pandemic hits. Paint me a picture of like what the business looked like at the beginning. Were you charging big bucks to start with, or kind of
huge, millions?
Okay. Yeah. You've downgraded a lot since the 7 years. I like it. That's fun. No. So yeah, what was kind of the story of getting into the market, and like, how did you get to this price? I mean, most people would want to be charging this much. So like, what was kind of the roadmap you took from the beginning of the business?
Yeah. Thanks for asking. From the beginning, I mentioned it before, but I didn't know anything about the wedding industry. I didn't have a plan. I didn't know weddings with big budgets like I'm shooting now even existed. It wasn't what I grew up in. I just had no clue about it. My first couple, before I started doing wedding videography, I actually ran a photo booth company full time. It was called Corner Booth, and it was based on college campuses, a lot of Greek life stuff. I'd started it at Baylor in Waco, Texas, and actually took it to a few other campuses around the middle of the country. And I'd picked up video after doing that for a couple of years, just as a creative outlet. As fun as photo booths at events were, it was always the same light setup. It was always the same camera settings. It was always the same idea. It was kind of just a machine you could create systems for and just rock and roll and rock and roll. And so I'd picked up video just as a hobby on the side. I did some social media work in town for small brands. I did some little like vlog Instagram stuff just for fun, just to do something different. And then I got asked by a friend to do his wedding video. And I said, no, I wasn't interested. And then he basically said, well, I'm not going to hire anyone. So if you want to do it, here it is. And if not, I'm just not going to have a wedding video. He kind of peer pressured me into shooting his wedding video. And as soon as I did it, I just knew this was what I wanted to do. It was so many different elements of my personality and what I liked and what I was good at coming together at once, where I just knew. I shot one wedding and I knew this is what I wanted to pursue full time, which was a crazy change. So that was in 2019, like you said, but I still had another full-time business. And so I started that year. I maybe picked up 3-4 weddings that I was able to get in town. You were asking pricing. I started at $500 for that first wedding and just increased by $500 every wedding I booked after that until I kind of ran into a wall around 2,400 or 2,500 and then slowed down. But I just like, oh, I booked it for $5. Let's see about 1,000. Like, oh, I booked it for 1,000. Let's see about 1,500. Oh, I booked it for, you know what I mean? You can just kind of, that's how I started.
Before we move forward in this episode, I want to tell you about brideandgroom.video. Brideandgroom.video is an editing house for wedding filmmakers to edit your films for you. You upload your footage, they edit it. I've been working with brideandgroom.video now for about a year, and I'm loving every single edit that they're putting out for me. They do my highlight films, my feature films. My favorite thing is just how amazing they are at communicating. They keep me up to date. They make it easy. Their system makes it easy for me to download my final films and save me that precious time that I need. So head over to the show notes and check out brideandgroom.video today. Now back into the show.
And then that was 2019. 2020 hit. Pandemic happened, which for my full-time job being running photo booths across 12 different campuses focused on Greek life and Greek life events. I mean, in 2020, every college shut down. Every student went home. Events weren't allowed on college campuses for like 2 or 3 years. And so what felt like the most stable, established business possible to be spread out that far, have that many clients, I mean, it was gone overnight. And this is throwing it back even further. In school, I was an accountant. I was an accounting major and then was an accountant up in Bartlesville, Oklahoma for a little bit.
Woo!
Shout out Oklahoma, Northeast Oklahoma. And I remember having the conversation with my wife when we were quarantined right at the beginning. Like the business was gone. It wasn't coming back. And it was like, I need to go really hard into wedding videos or else we can't pursue these dreams anymore. Like our income is gone. It's not coming back. It's either I run after this really hard and we make it work for a full-time job in the next 4 or 5 months, or we need to just take an accounting job that I hated and go back to that grind. So that was it. I mean, the pandemic here in the South, here in Texas, was a little different than the coasts or up north.
Yeah.
Things were shut down for like 7 weeks and then we're just weird after that. So I don't know. I was able to pick up in that time and work days, work nights, work weekends, just grind super hard, and came out of the pandemic with a wedding video company that was growing and paying the bills.
Love it. Okay. So you got up to a couple grand. You're in the middle of Texas. It was weird. We were open, but not for a while. It was like, are they going to close it down? We don't know. We're just acting like this is normal. Okay. 20 people at an event. Cool. There's 50 here actually, but that's fine. We just kind of, this area, we were open back pretty soon, but it was still weird.
It was weird.
So 2,500 or so at that point, getting going. I feel like you have mastered a lot of things to get to where you're at today. I think a lot of people get stuck where you were at that point. And I'm a firm believer that, you know, you have your work, your brand, your network, and you can be really heavy on one, two, or all three of those things to get out of the middle market, to get to the top of your market. And I would consider you at there's not too many that are charging more in Texas. And being 7 years in, that's very impressive. Most people, it takes a lot longer than that. So I want to dive
Thanks,
into
Sean.
you're welcome, kind of dive into what you started to see and how you did get yourself out of that middle market, because the middle market is, I think, where people go to die creatively. I think it's where they go to kind of just get stuck, usually for years and years at a time. And so what was your journey through the middle? What began to change? And just kind of what were some of the steps where you started seeing some light at the end of that tunnel?
Yeah, no, that's a great question. And thank you for so many kind words, John. I appreciate it.
You're
Yeah.
welcome.
I feel like there's two things at play going on there. And one, like you mentioned, it's if you're talking network and your work and the brand, did I get those three right?
Mm-hmm.
If you're talking those three, it all felt very cyclical to me. Like it wasn't, oh, I'm going to go really hard after my brand and build this insane brand. And now I have this thing, and then success trickled from there. From where I'm at right now, looking back to 2020 when it was first getting started, it's almost like I ran laps around those three things in circles 50, 60 times, because it was just a constant, oh, wow, I could do this in the films. What if I took it this way? It could differentiate me in the market if I did this, or it could be improved if I did this. And then I'd look at my brand and be like, oh, I could improve it a little bit here. What if I, change this and redid the website and this? And the whole time it's the constant networking going on of, well, I'm growing pretty well in Houston and in Austin. What if I took a few more trips up to Dallas to do some networking events? What if I just was in the city more often? I had a while, again, I'm here in Waco, and the price cap in Waco was around that like $2,500 to $4,000 for me personally. Maybe that's changed. By the time I was coming up, that was about it. I had a while where once a week I would drive to one of those other cities, Dallas or Houston or Austin, and sometimes get meetings for that, sometimes just be in the city. But I just knew the trajectory I wanted the business to go. It's not going to happen if I stay in as a big fish in a small pond in Waco. And so I just forced myself, wasted 3 to 6 hours one day every week to just drive to those cities and either work in the city or take meetings there, stuff like that. But just got me out of Waco. It stopped me from being like the Waco videographer. And so I think two things were going on at once. I think for me personally in the journey, it wasn't me looking at a big luxury event and saying, I want to be there. How do I get there? How do I take these steps to get to that point? It was just focused on these three things of like, I want to meet more people and be connected with more people that I want to work with. And it was, I want to make the films better and I want the brand to be better. You know what I mean? I was just focused on those three things, and it kind of happened naturally. And on the other side of things, I did know that people were charging more than what I was. And it became pretty obvious early on. I filmed my first wedding about 7 months after we had our first kid. And it became pretty obvious early on that to make the amount of money my family needed would mean being gone a lot of weekends at that price point. And thinking forward a couple of years, like as babies, he didn't know the difference between dad being gone on a Saturday or a Tuesday. But thinking forward, it's like, this isn't going to last long. We'll be in parents' day out. We'll start school. All of a sudden, weekends are going to get really valuable. And I don't want to be gone 45 weekends a year when my kids are in school like that. So it became pretty obvious early on to me hey, I need to be charging more, like I hear some other people charging more. And I think one of the big things, I think it helps starting this when I was, late 20s, because there felt like more urgency to it with having a kid. They grow up fast. I'm in my late 20s. And so there's a lot of risk. Every time I'd increase my prices, I would have some vendors who I loved and who I worked with that would be frustrated with me. Or I'd have vendors that I loved and I worked with, even some planners that would say, hey, I cannot recommend you anymore. Like, if this is really your new price point, I need to take you off the vendor list and we won't get to work together anymore. And like, that hurt and that sucked. And if that's the vendor, if that's a planner that I had previously been getting 30% of my weddings from, it's also scary. Like, what's going to happen going forward? But I had some urgency of like, hey, there's a lot of risk with increasing my prices like this every single time. And I also knew that looking forward 10 years, I wasn't going to be living the life I wanted to be living if I didn't take that risk. Like, at the end of the day, I'd rather take the risk and maybe I fail doing it and then I move on and find something else. You know what I mean? Or I pick myself back up and we adjust to it. But I knew looking forward that I would regret not taking that risk. And so I think those two things working at once, being okay taking the risk to build the life I wanted to lead and to build the business I wanted, and just chasing that cycle, just trying to connect with people, just trying to do better work, just trying to build the brand, kind of got me where I am now.
Let me ask you something. How are your couples watching their wedding films for the very first time? If your answer is YouTube or a Google Drive folder, I used to be there too, and then I found VidFlow. VidFlow is how I deliver every single one of my films now. It's a premium viewing experience. It looks insane, it feels intentional, it lives on my website, and it makes the moment they press play actually feel like something. My couples can stream their film in beautiful quality, watch it on their TV, and easily download everything. And now VidFlow even supports photo delivery, which is huge for hybrid shooters. It's pay per project or subscription if you know you're going to use it a lot. And it's honestly one of those tools that just make you look way more high-end without adding complexity. If you care about experience, not just files, check out the link in the show notes to try VidFlow for free. A lot of times people don't take into consideration their future. They don't take into consideration the market that they are in, and they don't plan for not even this year, let alone 5 years or 10 years. And I learned a lot of things the opposite way, the wrong way. I was booked solid the year my first daughter went to kindergarten. And I remember August of, 2015-16 season being like, oh my gosh, like, you start kindergarten and I'm not going to, like, you're gone all week. I just remember being like,
I'm gone like 52 weekends a year.
Yeah, I'm gone all the time. And I was charging, $4,000 or $5,000, and we had a pile of debt, and I was just kind of forced, like, I have to make this amount of money and I have to get out of student loans, and and so I think a lot of people, I'll get on a mentor session, they're like, I'm stuck at $3,000, and they're living in a town similar to Waco, or it's like, well, that's about as much as, like, that's just how it is. Like, people, like, math just still is math. And like, if you're going to move to San Francisco, houses cost more than they do in Bartlesville, Oklahoma. It's just math. Like, it is what it is. There's more people in, Houston, Austin, San Antonio, Dallas than there are in Waco. There's 50,000 people in Waco or whatever, and there's, 6 million in Dallas. And it's just like, well, you just that no, like, the logistically, no emotions involved. It's like, there's more people. There's going to be a high, like, even if only 0.5% of the people are doing weddings that can afford me, well, 0.5% of 6 million is a way different number than 0.5% of 50,000. And so that's the first thing I pulled out, is like, you realized I'm in a small pond and I'm becoming the big fish, and I have to make a choice. Am I going to let the other fish around me tell me that this is where I need to stay, or am I going to take the risk? And am I going to find myself in new rooms.
Yeah.
And so that's something big that really stood out. The other thing is, I don't think most people are thinking about all three of these levers at once. I think most people, and that's my mission here with this podcast, is like, we're usually naturally good at one of them, like really good at one of these three things, and we're naturally okay at the others. And so
Yeah.
most people, it's like, I'm really good at taking photos, so I'm just going to get better. I'm going to take another course on how to get even better at photos, but they're letting these other things slide. And you were thinking more of a analytical thought of, oh, I got to get in the room. I got to get in the town. I'm just going to go do that and take that risk. And most people just sit back and wait and talk about it and think, oh man, it sucks here. I can't get bookings. So those are the two things that really stood out to me on everything you were just saying. What started to happen when you started saying no to the wrong things for your future? Because you're like, I tell people that their business is like everybody has something different in front of the lens of their business, and they have to expose properly for their situation. You late 20s or new kids, where you're like the goals, wife staying at home or not, or whatever it is your thing that you have to properly expose for, and you can't let someone else tell you, no, you got to stay here. I can't refer you. So you started having hard conversations and saying, I'm sorry, this is the price. You started you started pruning things away so that
Yeah.
you could grow. What started happening after you started, that's a lot of effort to go every week and be in networking groups or go meet people or take meeting. Like, when did you start to finally see that little seed that you'd been like, you planted and you've watered and you weeded and all that? Like, when did you start to see like, like when was that first big break, or what started to change for somebody out there that's thinking, this is interesting stuff?
Yeah. I don't know if there was ever a point of like, oh, this was the big break and this is how it happened. There wasn't one moment. It's like I just kept focusing on getting better. And I looked up and like, wow, look how far we've come. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
I think a big thing that helped me a lot with those hard conversations as I was moving the business in the direction I wanted to go. Bob Goff has this saying where he kind of just asks people like the question why over and over again, like the same as my 5-year-old. Why? Like,
Mm-hmm.
why? And there comes a point in my life where if I could answer like, what's my why behind these decisions I'm making, everything just kind of falls into line. And so it, thankfully, I'm still friends with those people I used to work with at a different price point, because I felt like I was able to articulate, hey, this is why I'm charging this rate, and this is why I'm sticking to that rate, and here's what I'm going for. And it's the right choice for me and my family to take this risk. And I love you still. You know what I mean? But it's like, oh, if you have a reason why, like I love a good goal. I'd be
Mm-hmm.
stoked to hit my revenue goal this year. You know what I mean? Like it'd be incredible. Or I'd love to do this or that, love goals. But if there's no reason attached to it, if there's no why behind your goals, like what's the point? Like they're just kind of shallow at the end. Like it's just vanity metrics. But if you have goals for your business and you have the reason why those are your goals and why you're going for them, like that'll change your life. Like that'll be life changing right there. So there did start to be, I mean, again, it was tiptoeing over the course of a couple of years. I did notice a big change after a long time of getting connected in and working in other markets. At the beginning, it was really hard because I was known pretty well as like the Waco videographer who we're bringing to Dallas. And the price point was expected to be a Waco price point, but I just drove up to Dallas for the day.
Mm-hmm.
And after enough time in the other markets, it's like something shifted to where that stigma left me. And all of a sudden, being what was a big disadvantage a couple of years beforehand of like, oh, that's the Waco videographer that's up here in Dallas, became a huge advantage. Now, me being centered here in between 4 huge markets, I'm now a piece of 4 different huge markets and not relying on any one of them. And all of a sudden, there's authority there. Like all of a sudden, there's desire there instead of what it was. And there was a day I looked at, like you said, it's always I was tweaking the website, doing little tweaks month after month. But I remember there was a day I tweaked some videos, put them up, and then I took stepped back and took a look at my portfolio, and it was like, whoa, like this is what I want it to be. Like I am so hyper proud of each of these videos and the teams I worked with on them and the experience I gave the clients. I do remember a wow factor one time editing the portfolio, stepping back and looking at it, being like, wow, I'm really so proud of what I have right here.
That's so inspiring. Yeah, you got the flywheel turning, and it's like which turn of the flywheel gave it the momentum. It's like I don't know. It was kind of a trick question asking you, was there a moment? Because I've never had anybody be like, "Yep, Jay-Z hired me to do his wedding, and now I'm famous." I don't know why I thought of Jay-Z. It's probably because we're just his target market.
If only.
But yeah, us dudes in demo.
The
What is
denim
this called?
boys over here.
Yeah, the Denim Brothers. No, like this is what I think that what people don't understand is there is risk to be taken, but if it's calculated, it does build authority. And if you wouldn't have taken those risks, you would have stayed where you you stayed safe. I mean, it's a calculated risk. You probably had enough weddings booked to cover your bills whenever you raised your prices. You probably had relationships. You could fall back and say, "Hey, I had to lower my prices. I failed." Like, fine. But like you took these risks and started building this momentum in your brand. And what you created, whether you realize it or not, was like a supply and demand, where you did have this, like, there's only so much of you to go around, and there's all kinds of people wanting you. So then with authority in meetings, you can say, "Hey, this is what I charge. I'm already booked out. If you don't want it, that's great. I've got somebody else that'll take it." And then that creates that aura about your brand where it's like, oh, this is getting you weddings that now have higher budgets, which what does that do? It allows you to go back around that circle. And it's like, my work can get better because this wedding was just legitimately more beautiful to film. Like everything looked better. Everything was intentional. And, it's like, oh, you get some of these big breaks, where a friend of a planner saw that you did a wedding with that planner and like whatever. Oh, it was so great to work with Kevin. It was so like, and then you get the bride and the bridesmaids and their friends and it starts to build this momentum and this fire in your brand where you're like, yeah, I can upgrade my portfolio now, but you had to say yes to some hard things before you got there. You mentioned saying yes to driving 3 hours and sitting in, the coffee shop in the other city, or, that takes time. You have to get your wife on board with that. You have to, present vision, like this is going to work. There's this risk. You put your neck on the line. For me, when building to my brand where it was at, I had to say yes to some weddings that I knew were where I wanted to be, even though I did take less for them because it was a planner I wanted to work with. I just wanted to get in the door. What would you say to people that were there any things that you said yes to, even though they didn't really make sense on paper whenever you were building to where you were at? Like obviously driving, doesn't make sense on paper, but what other things did you do? What was going on in that mind of yours?
Yeah. I mean, the driving, yes, the drive's a pain, but the drive is horrible when you're sitting in the car thinking, like doing the math. I'm using like this month probably $250 worth of gas and this many hours of my time, and this is how I'm backlogged, and it's all to be in the city, and I probably won't get any meetings anyways, and nothing will come from it, and I might as well, you know what I mean? That mental thing. I have done and put so much time into helping so many different networking events that pop up here in Texas. So whether it's small ones for friends that I know personally, whether it's filming a WIPA event, an entrusted company event, lots of different events, all of those would be a conversation between my wife and I, because I'm typically a big yes man. Like, I'm just going to say yes to everything. And there comes a point where it's like, hey, I have done so many of these. And at some point, is this not making sense anymore? Like, am I not focusing on editing the weddings I have backlogged because I'm spending 2 hours? I mean, Houston's like 3.5 hours. If I say yes to shooting a 90-minute networking event in Houston, ultimately that's, 2 hours of prep for it, 3.5 hour drive down, get there an hour early, an hour and a half of the networking event, 30, 40 minutes to pack up, 3.5 hour drive back, 15 to 30 hours to like edit the thing and get it the way I want it to be. So it's like a quick yes to a 90-minute networking event, filming it. I might be out like 90 hours and like a couple $100 if I'm driving down or flying in or staying in hotels. A lot of those constantly felt like this cannot be the right idea, but it just came back to what those would lead to, because they'd lead to more friendships, like they'd lead to more connections, they'd lead to higher trust. I think that's a big thing in the industry, moving up to different parts of it, is not, a lot of people talk about it almost as if it's like a game to play, or like you're trying to trick someone into something so you could get in and have your big break. But it ultimately comes down, like, if that's it, that's just a facade that's not going to last if that's it for you. But knowing, having the confidence in yourself and the brand to be like, hey, I honestly, no tricks, I have something to offer the market above me. They'll be better off with me in that market because I bring A, B, and C. And so now I just need to make those connections with those people so that they know that too. I already know inside of me that I have something to bring and that market will be better off with me in it. Now I just need to meet people and help them know, like help them understand that that's true. And then the trust factor is so huge, working with planners who have built trust with a client up to like $2, $3, $4 million budgets. It's kind of funny when you talk about trust, because it's like at that point, that client's telling that planner, I trust you this much. Like literally, I trust you $4 million worth. That's how much I trust you right now. And to then have that planner receive that kind of trust from the client and turn around and face me, a guy they barely know, but they've seen the work of, and say, yeah, I trust you to do 100% of the filming for this $4 million wedding. I mean, that takes a crazy amount of trust. You can't overstate the amount of trust a planner needs in you for them to want to take a risk on you in that moment. So, I mean, everything's just building up to that, knowing it inside yourself, I have something tangible to offer the market above me. And then how do I build trust with those people so that they know I can deliver on what I say I can deliver, and I really do have something to offer them. Does that make sense?
Totally. It's so good. I'm going to clip all of it. No, it's so good. It's like you put it in a way that I think that most people don't have that level of awareness or skill socially to realize what they're doing. But the way you said it, like, is like a lot of people do just come across of like, well, I want something, I need something. What's the trick to get in there? And instead of being like, I can add value, I just need to, like, I know that what I do adds value. I'm confident in what I do. Now I just need to make the connections. that mindset changes everything for people if they take that into account. Like, and that mindset doesn't work if you're only in Waco, and that doesn't work if your films aren't where they need to be and you haven't done the reps and you haven't been at the events. And it's like everybody I talk to that's charging 20,000 and above has done the I've I've filmed this many free things for the planners. I've done this many events. I've built this much trust. I've like everyone's story has something like that in it, where it's like I got in the room, I added value, I did that for a long time, and it just slowly but surely, like I started to get, a chance or a wedding with that vendor or, and they make the most of it. And they also ultimately, when you get down to the bedrock of who they are, they know where they are going and why they are going there instead of just a vanity metric of, yeah, I just want to make a lot of money. Like money is a thing, like it's a shadow of like a really good business, a really good service, a really good person. Like money follows that. And if all you're doing is searching for money, it's like that will fade quickly.
Yeah.
And so as we wrap up, I want to ask one more question about like today, like where you're at today. You said most of, the beginning of the conversation, you said most of your events come from planners. Um, about like, talk to me about like your referral network that you have now. Like how many planners do you really feel like you have a great relationship with that are sending you events? And then are there new people coming in? How are they connecting with you? Wedding filmmakers, do you know that sinking feeling when your inbox is full and your to-do list looks more like a novel? That's where my friends at Limly come in. This CRM, designed by videographers for videographers, lets you send and receive contracts, deliver films, manage projects, invoices, and questionnaires all in one slick, intuitive platform. It even automates your project workflow from import to export so you stay on top of deadlines without lifting a finger. Stop wasting your time on tasks you can automate and focus on making more money. And as a bonus, I've got a 25% off code in the show notes below. Head there now and streamline your whole business. Limly, get back to creating, not admin.
I'd say in the state of Texas, there's probably, I'd expect over the next 2 years to work with maybe 30 different planners over those 2 years. I don't know. There's not really a pipeline of like, oh,
yeah,
this is how many people I want to meet, and this is how I'm going to meet them, and here's the strategy.
Let me ask you it this way. Are you still attending, like what types of things are you still doing and attending to like just stay involved in your network? I mean, I know you've got the podcast now, which is brilliant. Good job. But like what kinds of things, like it's like it's like spinning plates in a way, but you're only spinning a few of them, the right ones now, but you got to keep them going. So what are you doing to keep these relationships moving and going? I mean, obviously being at weddings and taking care of people, but are you still driving and doing work at Houston, or have you been able to pull off some of the, like you've had your foot down on the gas so hard to get yourself moving? What are you doing to keep those plates spinning now?
Yeah, that's a great question. I am still in the cities as often as possible. It's not a rhythm like I've had before. It's not once a week I'm going to be there. It's not I'm not knocking on doors in the city. But I'm an active part of both WIPA chapters in Dallas and Austin, and make it to as many as I can. I mean, life fluctuates so much. In the Texas wedding market, there's very busy times and there's much slower times. And so a lot of it's just depending on the season it's in. As I have capacity, I love being in those cities. I love showing up in person as much as possible. And I always try to maximize it. If I'm in the city for a shoot, but I have a couple hours free, I try to grab coffee. I try to grab lunch with someone while I'm there. But so much of the relationships I've built, there's not a strategic, this is how I'm going to keep that relationship going. Just like with my best friends from college, I don't have a strategic, this is how I'm going to keep those relationships going. I'm not sending my former roommate at Baylor a like nice smelling candle and a bottle of wine at Christmas, so he thinks of me at that time. Like a lot of these are just genuine friendships, and they carry naturally when, hey, I thought of this planner because I was working back through my old hard drives, editing something else for somebody. And this came up and I thought of them in this funny memory, and it'll be a text, it'll be a DM, it'll be a little thing here or there. It's been not what started with a ton of intention and a lot of hard work and a lot of discipline has turned into just really organic relationships at this point. And that's exactly what I was dreaming of the whole time, of it being high trust, high relational friendships of people I get to work with regularly now.
It's so good. Okay, I have one more thing, and I think only one more thing. We'll see. I'll try to get out of here without stealing all your time.
We're good.
So if you were to give yourself advice whenever you were feeling scared in 2021, or whenever you started losing some of your relationships, like what would you say to that person or people out there listening that are wanting to take that step, that risk? Like what would you say to that younger version of yourself now that you're way further up the mountain?
Yeah, appreciate that. I think you can make it a really calculated risk. And then I think if you make it a really calculated risk, you can just be stubborn about it and just go for it, even when it gets hard. I think two things helped me a lot. I'm financially really conservative. I said I was formerly an accountant. It's a big, I mean, my wife and I, as soon as we got married, paid off our debts as quick as we can, like worked really hard, spent as little money as we can, saved as much as we could, invested it the right way. It's been one of the best decisions for our life to live well below our means whenever we can. And not only for peace of mind in our life, but that carried through a lot when it came time for the business. I didn't take these big risks when I was making $7,000 a month and I needed to be making $6,900 a month. You know, I made these risks when there was a significant gap between the amount of money coming in and the amount of money our family needed month to month to survive. And in the same boat, I was also tracking how many weddings do I want to shoot in a year and what am I at right now? I wasn't doubling my price when it was February and I had 2 weddings on the books. You know, I was increasing prices when I was looking forward at the next 12 months and saying, I'm like 80% where I want to be for these next 12 months. Someone's asking about a wedding 15 months from now. I'm set financially. Yeah, let's take the risk. Let's increase price. We're going to keep it high. And I'm going to do the footwork to make it sustainable.
Clip it again. Best guests ever. No, so it's so inspiring because I think that like you are very balanced. You've figured out the balance of life and work, and I'm not saying that it's always
doesn't feel like it.
Even I'm not saying the seesaw doesn't go one way or the other, but like I'm just saying like your balance between where you want to go with your work to create the life you want. You've done a good job of getting ahead of that and being an accountant and thinking through things the way that you do. I mean, that's not naturally how a lot of artists and creatives think. They just think,
yeah,
I'm making pretty art. Why doesn't anybody want to buy the art? The system is rigged. And then they go off into the the internet and complain. And that's
spiral.
just
Yeah.
Yeah. And I feel like people would be very inspired by that. And you do have a very good regulated balance between creativity and art. Your films are ridiculously good. Your brand is ridiculously good. Unicorn level stuff over here. And then your networking as well is off the charts as well. And you start looking at these things and analyzing them from an outside perspective. It's like, well, it's of course that you are making what you're making. You got yourself into 4 of the biggest networks in the country. You have created work that attracts dream buyers that are paying hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars for weddings. When they go to your website, or whenever the planner goes to your website and looks at what the pictures the way that you present yourself, all the things that the whole brand of 718 Creative, man, I don't know why I'm being sarcastic about that, but the whole
But you
brand,
crushed it. You got it right.
yeah, thanks. I know you nailed it. That whole brand has come together where it's like, well, of course he charges 20 grand for his wedding films. Look, he's got this Rolodex of people that he has real relationships with that keep sending him weddings, the color grading, the quality, like the detail of the work. And then you go over, it's like, oh, the brand itself, like this keeps cycling upwards. And 2025, you were charging this much. 2026, you've raised it even more. You're doing a little bit less. It gives you more of that freedom. But most people don't, that like 4 or 5 year window of time to build that. They're not willing to pay that price, and you have. And so it's really inspiring. Okay, before we head out, any things that you would want to say, things you live by, that maybe would help someone just even on a practical side, for getting further faster in their brand, or further slower, whatever, but any feedback for the audience of maybe things that you are consistently doing to help yourself grow?
Yeah. Thanks, Sean. I was thinking before this, because shout out to you, John. I spent years listening to you, taking your advice, in the same groups that you're in, seeing what you're commenting, all these things along the journey. So appreciate you. But I did have the thought coming on here. Apologize to any non-videographers listening to this. Maybe it would apply. Anyways, I had a couple things that came to mind for me as a videographer that I think would be really practical to tell other videographers. Here's a couple rules I live by. One is that I edit all my own films. I edit them in-house. And every film I edit, I try to do one thing that I think I'm going to hate in that film. So sometimes it's a music choice that I'm going through Music Bed and I'm just like, this song would be insane to use. Let's try it. And I'll try it. And usually I'm like, I was right. It's horrible. It's so bad in there. And I'll cut it. But another example is I did, I shot some stationery at a ranch wedding recently, some incredible stationery, and we were just playing with it afterwards. I just pointed the camera at the sky, put on 120 frames per second, and just kind of threw a lot of the stationery up into the sky. And it was like 120 frames per second. I'll be able to slow it down. It'll look whimsical and magical. And I got it into Premiere. This is getting so technical. Again, apologies to any non-videographers. But the rate it was falling at was not at all what I was envisioning. Even slowed down to, I think I could do 20% at that point speed. It was still way too fast. And so again, I'm like, I'm probably going to hate this, but I cranked it down to like less than 1% speed. I think it was 0.5% speed. Put on optical flow. It looks a little glitchy and funny on it, but honestly, I played it back and it was like exactly what I was dreaming of the shot looking like. A little bit funny, but it was already like facing up at the sky. It's this kind of disorienting, ethereal style shot anyways, so it didn't bother me. So I used it for the sneak peek and it was my favorite shot. Like the stationer, the planner, the bride, all pointed out that shot like that was insane. That's just an example. I'm like, I'm probably going to hate this, but it just pushes me creatively to give myself permission to do things I hate.
So good.
On the opposite side, when I'm filming on a wedding, there's a big rule for me. I always film conservatively. I'm not taking these risks that I do when I edit as the bride's walking down the aisle. I'm not, oh, what if I shot this instead of this like very conservative, I know I'll get the shot. What if I did it like between the legs and this way? I don't do that. I always film conservatively. Make sure you get the shot, edit with risk, and film conservatively. It's a rule for me. The third one that I thought of is memorize the timeline. I think that's been the intention of that for not only the planner who worked really hard to put it together, but the other vendors there I'm alongside. Like, I can support them so much better on a wedding day if I have the timeline memorized and don't have to pull it up and thumb through the phone and put the phone away. If I have it memorized, I can not only support the other vendors next to me better, but it's, I think, the most loving thing I could do for the planner I'm working with when I have it committed like that. So
That's incredible. I need to do
that's it.
that better. I save it on my phone, but I don't memorize it. I'm popping that phone out and I'm like, oh yeah, the ceremony's at this time. I mean, I know when the ceremony is usually, but first look with
Got to
that.
do it.
Okay, that
Yeah,
time.
got to
That's
do it.
smart. Now, okay, if people want to find you, you do have the new podcast. I mean, it's aimed at the Texas market, but if people want to watch that or follow you, like, where's the best place for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, hopefully the podcast shows up on Google now. It's called the Texas Wedding Podcast. And I use the phrase, it's candid conversations for the people moving and shaping the Texas wedding market. So not all of our guests are from Texas. Anyone who's moving or shaping it in any way, or people who are curious about it, it's a little bit all over the place. So check that out. It should come up on Google. The business is 718 Creative, my website. I'm most active on Instagram. It's 718.creative. Again, it should come up if you search it. And I don't have it publicly facing, John, but I do some mentorship in the same vein as the business and the connections I have. It's very organic. It's not like, here's the package, here's how we do it. It's just come from relationships and people reaching out to me directly. So I want to say it here, if someone's hearing this and like, yeah, I'm in a similar situation, this is the person I'd like to learn for, shoot me a DM. We could talk about it. We could figure out what it could look like, but wanted to throw that out on the wind.
I love it. Throw it up into the air like the stationary.
Like the stationary.
0.5% and see if anyone thinks it's whimsical. No, that's great. Well, dude, I really appreciate it. Thank you so much for the time. I can't wait to keep our friendship going.
Yeah.
We did our mentorship call. Like, we hung out, I don't know, a month ago. I was giving you some advice about your podcast, and I was like, dude, this guy, he had a very similar vibe to me as Lindsay Conklin when I met him for the first time with LaRev. Just so good at, like,
wow.
Oh, this is a good person. Like, this is a person I would just be a friend with. Like, didn't want anything from me, didn't whatever. And it's just like, oh, so a friendship has budded between us. Maybe a bromance. We might have called each other beforehand and said, why don't you do denim and white and I'll do denim and black?
I almost wore black. I literally almost wore my black shirt instead.
That would have been funny. But I can't wait to see just you keep pushing. I'm so pumped about your podcast and all the things you're doing. So thank you so much for taking the time for being on today.
Thanks, Sean. Bro, I really appreciate it.
What an inspiring conversation. I hope that you took notes. I hope you actually listened to this episode multiple times, because I think there's so much in there that can help you if you're stuck in the middle market. As a reminder, I have a community over on Circle, and I also have a mastermind group called the Exposure Triangle that I'll be opening up again soon for new people. It's a 12-week program. If you are inspired by these kinds of conversations, join the community on Circle, join the waitlist for our mastermind group, because I am on a mission to help you get unstuck from the middle market. Thanks again to our show sponsor, MusicBed. Check them out in the show notes. Thanks again, Kevin, for being on. That's all I have. I'll see you on the next one. You know how much I love shooting weddings, but you know what I don't love? Wasting hours culling and editing. That is why I use Imagine.ai. It's literally learned my style. It culls my photos, edits them, and even opens them in Lightroom with the sliders exactly where I'd want them. And now they're in beta for video color grading, which is an absolute game changer. Stop wasting time and get back to doing what you love. Check the show notes to grab 1,500 free edits today.